Hey y'all, really quickly, spread the word, send this everyone you know. To our 6 old faithful subscribers. Make your family subscribe. Just turn off notifications. We're trying to change platforms to YouTube Live. We want to do it live because we're a little bit over the fakeness of AI. And we want you guys to see us fail in real time and, just face plant like we normally do. It's cool. We have a barrier to entry though, and that is 50 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We're at 35. Send, share, just click. Link will be in show notes. Thank you kindly.
So I had the hair. Hi, Liz.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I had this conversation this weekend. I was like, there's no world in which the state of my hair right now doesn't make me look like a Muppet. Okay?
Oh my God.
So yeah, I'm like, no, it's because it's thin on the top. It's like dark at the roots. So it just looks weird. So
Yeah.
especially if you're backlit, like we went to the like by the ocean restaurant and took pictures and stuff. And I'm standing there like me and Sarah took selfies in the bathroom because we were like, yeah, just doing silly stuff. And then we walked out to the patio where we're sitting, and it's this beautiful sunset. The water's behind us and everything. And like we took a couple pictures, and I'm like, fucking Muppet. I look like a Muppet. Like there's nothing, and then there's like this, and then there's like this little weird shit on top. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so awkward. It just looks
Yeah,
awkward.
I hate mine.
I hate it.
I hate mine too. I don't know what to do. Either let it grow a little bit longer or chop it the hell off because it's like not sure. I can't put it up. I can't like leaving it down. I feel like I have a mushroom on my head, like
Yeah.
looking over it. Oh,
Well, and
so
mine's
anyway,
again, like at that weird space. Like, look,
you have a mullet kind of.
it's a fucking mullet, and it's all
It's
like
a
curly.
mullet.
It's a mullet, and it's all curly back here. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
curly
yeah.
everywhere, like, but just in the most awkward, weird ways of curling. I'm
I
like,
know.
no, nothing about this is like super tight ringlets, curly, cool curly.
It's wavy
It's just
weird.
wavy, weird curly, and it's annoying as hell. So then I'm like patting it down, you know what I mean? So it doesn't look so high on top. Yeah. Like
Oh.
a black girl where her weave is itching because I've done that shit and that shit sucks. It's so itchy. But yeah. Anyway. Oh,
Anyway,
so what are we talking about
there.
today? I actually just looked some of this up.
Me too.
It was on my
I'm like,
mind a little
huh?
bit because of the Supreme Court rulings and stuff and all that. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
but you and I have personal experience with this. And
Yes.
we have like a really broad educational experience. Not
Me
just
too.
with me and you, but also
Hmm.
with like, our kids. Like
Sure.
all of our roommates had different, versions of it in one way or the other. And
Yes.
yeah.
So our topic today, define this, is and how to, which I mean, it's not specific. We will do the define this for sure. How to is what our thoughts are on all of this.
Right.
So the government and the church and homeschools versus, home and school or homeschooling, schooling, separation of church and state.
Yeah.
All these new things are going on right now, and it's flipping crazy, like literally crazy.
Right.
Um, Separation of church and state should be something that is 100%
So
acknowledged.
Yeah, but let's
Um,
give that some history though, because it's not included in the Constitution.
It is not in the Constitution.
No. And
100%
actually,
no.
there's no mention of church or state in
Right.
Constitution. But there's the Establishment Clause in the Bill of
It's
Rights.
enshrined in the very first freedom guaranteed by the First Amendment.
First Amendment clause.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion.
Right. So meaning that there's no state religion or federal religion.
Sure.
Or right, that there's nothing that can be defined by the government as
the religion
yeah.
or the correct religion
Correct.
Or anything.
Right,
like
right.
Yes.
And it's not explicitly stated, but that what that is implied, heavily implied, is that there is a separation of religious rights from federal state rights that are guaranteed. And that the guarantee is that there's no religion that is there. And of course, they're testing the fucking waters in Louisiana right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I've read the best memes on this week. And I wish I had them in my brain right now to tell you.
Well, I sent you a couple.
I was gonna say I can tell you a couple. But the fact that they're putting the 10 Commandments in every classroom is flipping bizarre.
In Louisiana,
that is basically stating that
we have a
they're
taking
religion. Sides with religion. Yes.
Yeah, we have. No, it's not even that they're doing that. It's that they're saying that this religion is more important than anyone else. That's it.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then we have a different law suit that has to happen that is discriminatory. Meaning you're putting the rights of Christianity over the rights of any other religion.
Here's a good one that I just
you pulled up.
I found it. It says, if your state ranks 47th in education,
yes,
maybe you should require schools to post the ABCs instead of the 10 Commandments.
Yes.
You know, we went to a religious school, right?
That's why I wanted to have this conversation.
And we didn't have the 10 Commandments in our school, like posted.
Oh,
like,
shit.
It wasn't posted. Yep. Now it just went to you.
Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, but I'm just seeing your
There we go.
face. There you go. There you go. Yup.
So it can be, well, and if you think about the way that the country was started because we were religiously and financially and socially persecuted from England. So with all of that horrifying weirdness of colonization and taking over like basically native lands and doing all that to the side,
right,
the overwhelming and governing foundation of our country was religious freedom without persecution of government and the right to live and be as a free society in whatever way that manifested. And it wasn't, that's why they put that in the Bill of Rights.
Right.
And inalienable rights are all the ones they didn't list that you have the right to be and to live and to practice and to do on your own. And so when we're forcing schools to educate on a certain religion, that is directly in contrast and at odds with the original founding of the country. So whether you believe in Christianity, Judaism, Islam, whatever.
I mean, if they're going to do that, then they need to post all rules from all religions.
Yep. Yep.
Every single one, because they're singling out Christianity, which is I mean, I don't even know if it's the
Well,
majority of
that's the
states.
equivalent of like you're basically screwing up the Bill of Rights because now
Yes.
you're attaching a state religion to
Mhm.
your education, which is governmentally. But then
Yeah.
that gets into our main topic, though. So I think the religion part of it is like really strong with us because we grew up in such that, culture.
Yes.
But then we're getting way outside of that even when we talk about this because it has to do with like what is there's a it's called where the fluxation is between religion, culture, politics, education, and funding from the federal government. Like where
Mhm.
those things all come into play, which is intersectionality. That means that like the right wing nationalist religious freaks are trying to get this into the school. That's affecting education. Education is affected by what funding they have from the federal government. The federal government is governed by people that are both appointed and elected. So therefore there's a balance there between what the people want, populace culture,
Mhm.
and then what the voters want and what they're trying to do. But all of that has to do with money.
Oh, for sure.
So if we're funding a state school and it is requiring a specific religion, they're outside of compliance of the Bill of Rights. Which means Louisiana should not get any funding for their federal schools,
From the federal government. Yeah.
for their schools,
For sure.
public schools. But I think that's the goal all along. No, that is the goal. So they're
It
going,
is.
okay, you can't get federal funding, so therefore we're going to
You
push all the,
can't regulate anything we're doing.
yeah, and then all the federal funding. So this has been, let me pull it up. This has been on the rise for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So that the federal funding, public funds for religious educations. So, and I'm citing a National Education Association article. I can link it in the show notes. But the barrier between church and state, right? And that
Mhm.
there's so much aggressive school privatization effort. So this has been
Mhm.
going on for a long time. I'm going to read a couple things from it, but I'm just going to quote a couple things. For too long, voucher schemes have experimented with children's education without any evidence of real, lasting positive results. Improving public schools requires more money, not less, and public money should be used to help public schools only. And that's from Grace Levitt of the Maine Education Association. There is a responsibility to provide great public schools for all students, no matter what they look like, where they're from, where they live, or what language they speak. Vouchers are the exact opposite of what students need because they strip public schools of scarce funds and give them to private schools that are unaccountable to the public, to which our tax dollars go.
Mhm.
So then
Absolutely.
voters are then left with no option but to be at
Right.
the whim of whatever the private school decides is acceptable education for the kids. And this is where like that whole like book banning, the student board or school board, oh, that's my best pathway to politics, is just
Yeah.
screwing everyone over because it's like, no,
Absolutely.
what was his name? Eisenhower. Not Eisenhower. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Addison.
You want to go through them all?
Ready? On 1, 2. Washington, Adams, Jefferson.
Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jackson Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk and Tate, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Granton, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, McClelland, Harrison, McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover. Franklin, Roosevelt. Huh?
No, it was Roosevelt.
Okay.
Okay.
We can go on.
No, Roosevelt. So Roosevelt had technically 12 years of presidency, technically, right? But he put more money into public education, public land works, public parks, the infrastructure of our nation as we currently know it was done by Roosevelt. That's the highway system, which is shitty.
Mhm.
But they decided that it was better to put in highways than it was to put in train lines. And they invested in that. That was great. At that time, that worked really well. They invested in education because they said all these people are coming back from war. They don't have skills. They can't enter the job market.
Yeah.
We want to push the job market to get the middle class uplifted to where they get money, they can earn money, they can put this back into the economy like the machine.
Mhm.
Capitalism
Yeah.
at its finest.
Sure.
But the investment was in infrastructure. That's why we have landlines for cell phones. That led to Wi-Fi, fiber, cables, all of that stuff that now connects us to the internet. But that was all from a government investment back in the freaking like 50s. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we doing right now? We're shoving all that money into private education that isn't teaching anyone anything. And that is like religiously pushing them in one direction or the other. It's not going back to teachers and public servants who actually give a shit about this, right? It's just going into pockets. It's corruption at its
Mhm.
best. It's corruption.
Finest. Absolutely.
So, that said, you and I both have really poignant experiences with both private and public education. So,
Sure.
Liz, what's your public, what's your private education? Go for it.
So private is extremely varied because I feel like, as we just quoted you that song, we learned a lot in our, I think in our first beginning years, we got the basics like reading and writing, with private education. Where the downfall came was once we got a bit older. I'm talking probably from me, it was about 4th or 5th grade. The education started going downhill. Because it was a private school. We would be pulled out of class for random things, clean somebody's house, or help in the office with mailings for the church, like random things. We did, as I got into older grades, high school, it was PACES, which is literally the worst education. I don't know, a lot of people use it. A lot of private schools use that.
Right. So
it doesn't really teach you anything.
So that's a self-guided learning thing.
Yes, self-guided learning. You fill out these workbooks.
To have someone there to guide you through it, where we were just shoved that to go figure it out.
Well, there was a room monitor in our classes, and they went back and forth in our high school years. I feel like we had a couple of teachers who were in charge of a couple of things. I can think of one specifically, actually 2 specifically, that were educational in the math department. I would not have any and English also.
English was mine. I was like, yep, that.
Yeah, English. So we did have a class in the upper grades where there was English, where there was actually an educated teacher that taught that.
Qualified, meaning certificated, even at the very minimum, to teach.
Yes.
In an environment of this kind. Not someone from the public genre who knows this stuff and learned it, but was never taught how to teach.
Right. So there's that. And then our math. I mean, my senior year of high school, I had never, ever taken algebra.
Yeah.
Like
we were learning calculus.
Let's just get over that. Like, so there was no requirements essentially for high school. To graduate, you just had to go. You just had to go. They went all out of order. They didn't have any kind of thing. They just said, oh, let's do this semester or this semester.
There was no educational pathway in which
absolutely not.
Which you would like meet state standards at the minimum and then go. So it was ad hoc, just off the cuff. Learning where they said you have to do this minimum amount of this and this minimum amount of this. but it really had no rhyme or reason, and it wasn't actually leading us to an educational goal because it was a cult. So
there was no goal except to get through school.
yeah,
And to pay the money every month so you could fund, I have no idea what, because
right.
it costs quite a bit of money to go to school there back in the day. And I know my mom, when she was teaching, got quite a discount. But and worked at the church, cult, school, whatever you want to call it. But she had all three of us in this private school. And when I started college, I knew I was screwed.
Well, and
To say the least.
we were behind on almost everything
Except for
except for
reading.
the basics.
Yeah.
So reading and writing, because we
Absolutely.
didn't have television, excelled with for us. So our imaginations, exploded in our reading. And then of course, when you're a good reader, you're certainly a better writer. Like that's just a side effect of that. So because we were such avid and like that was
Readers.
our only thing,
Yeah.
avid writing and reading became easy. When reading and writing are easy, you can learn very quickly. But unless those aren't in place, that was our saving grace, is that
Right.
regardless of all the
Just, I think the normalcy of college when I started it was so different than what I was used to. And so because there was not a format for our school. It was just all over the place. It was mismatched. And like I said, we missed so much class, it's not even funny. I mean, I don't even know. It was a mess, to say the least.
and
But like I said, younger years,
also-
so like, go ahead.
I also think that like you and I both were so adept at adapting and figuring things out very quickly, and we learned so fast. They didn't know what to do with us. Like,
Yeah.
we had
Well, they skipped me in the first grade.
No. So
Yeah.
just like we don't know what to do. These kids are actually quite bright, and quite able and capable, of doing a lot more. So aside from being bored out of our freaking minds in almost every class that we were in, at some point they tried to address it, but it just got addressed in like the worst way possible. So
Absolutely.
it was like, oh, you can do this. Okay, great. We're gonna put you in this class. Absolutely no regard for like how that should have happened or like the way in which it should have gone down. Oh, you've already finished all of your credits for high school? Great. We're going to put you to work in the office and you're going to answer phones and learn how to type on the computer, which are all functional real life skills that are actually important that we were missing. But at the same time, our social, emotional, behavioral learning was in the toilet because
Absolutely.
we had no access to socialization in the outside world. This was all very confined to just the four walls of where our school was and the limited education in terms of what the real world and what the consequences and or benefits of having these skills were. We didn't know. We just did what we were told. So
Absolutely.
so there was no value to even like in that environment, we were seen as less than for actually excelling in academics because then they didn't know what to do with us.
Sure.
Which is
I think a lot of church run private schools have the same issue, to be quite honest. I've seen
like what issue?
Of the same issue as of having, so I know there's private schools where they have a system and they have a this is
a regulatory body
credit, and there is a pathway to learning and getting through high school. I think a lot of church schools just start, they have no freaking clue what they're doing. They're just trying to get their kids out of a public school, which they think is terrible. And there are many, many public schools that are awful. Don't get me wrong. but there's also just as many private schools that
Louisiana,
are
for instance.
just as bad, So what I mean is there are private schools who have a pathway, and then there are these schools that churches start that literally
Are just indoctrination machines.
yeah, well, and they want to teach them Bible classes and all this other stuff. And I mean, if
they
you're
wanna
going to grow in that religion, that may be helpful. But at the same time, you still need an education to get through life. And not everybody is, I mean, we were fortunate, I believe, in that we learned very easily and we retained knowledge, and the stuff that we learned, we excelled at. But not every student is like that. And some
No.
people need one-on-one training, and
No, and
they need more attention.
we
And
were lucky in that regard.
absolutely, absolutely.
We got lucky, so we hit the lottery on that in terms of like cognitive ability and
Mhm.
and being able to just roll with the punches with whatever came at us and still figure out how to learn in
Yeah.
that situation, no matter what it was. And you and I
Well,
both,
I remember when I was young, I wanted to learn more.
I
You know,
still do. I'm
yeah.
still wanting to learn.
Absolutely. But we just had this like desire, and like I said, they didn't know what to do with it 100%, because when I was in first grade, I was reading at like a 5th grade level. And so they were like, "Okay, we need to skip you a grade," which was not a good decision. I mean, it might have been a good, I don't know. I wasn't mom. But I know that I was so bored in class, and I was constantly getting in trouble for talking because I would finish my work in 2 seconds and then be like, what am I supposed to do? I want to do more. So I skipped most of first grade and went to second grade. So I had about half a year in each grade. And second grade, not a problem for me. I actually enjoyed having more. But
Your social,
later on-
emotional learning
later on, it
was
created
not,
great problems
was not
with
there.
physically, because I was not mentally not mentally, what's the right word?
Academically, you weren't challenged.
Academically, I was challenged moving that way, but socially it was tough.
Social, emotional learning was
I was very, very immature. Yes. So, which I think continued through, I mean, even in high school, I was so immature. Oh my God.
well, those are your formidable years too. And
Yeah.
when you have that big of a shift in those times, it's a big deal. But
Right.
again, people running things they don't know how to do. They're
Yeah.
not qualified and or trained to teach, and they're just throwing kids through, and that is not. So I pulled up some statistics. Well, you and I have always gone back to like follow the money. I had this
Mhm.
conversation with a couple of people, and I was like, you can literally tell almost everything about someone if you just follow the money back to where their interests lie. So
Mhm.
where's your interest? It's back to the money, right? It's always back to the money, follow the money. So after we get out of like the major issues with the fact that the Louisiana state court has decided that they can put in the 10 commandments into their classrooms, right? And all of those trauma, weird things that it pushes out. What I want to say is let's follow the money. So the aggressive school privatization effort is follow the money. That means federal funds are getting pushed down to private schools that are religious in nature, that is funded from the federal government. So this has come up in case after case, but all of a sudden we're moving to this decision. Carson versus Macon is one of the ones that sort of started it up, and this was in 2021. So that Supreme Court decision made it easier for federal funds to go to vouchers and private school programs. So follow the money. Okay. Do you see where I'm going?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then I go, well, how much money are we spending as a nation on education? Right? So I'm like, okay, well, one thing to look at. So I have a personal experience story to share here. It has to do with clients, but I'm not going to really talk about it too much. But basically, someone that I know got locked up for some crimes that were pretty serious. And this person who got locked up, I don't know anything about it. Again, I have my issues with the justice system in general. But what I will
Right.
say is that this person who is currently incarcerated is fed 3 meals a day. They have access to health care.
Mhm.
They have access to mental health care. They have access to education while inside the system. Okay, guess who's paying for that?
Oh yeah.
Taxpayers. Okay. So I'm like, you go ahead and go on your crime. Yeah, crime needs to go down, yada fucking yada. Okay. But what are we doing when they're out of prison to make sure that they get more education, right? All the things that they need to not be in a position to commit a crime.
Before they go to prison.
Or is the crime laws too fucking rigid that we're just not providing the services we need? So
Sure.
I said, okay, well then let's just contrast how much America spends on prisoners than students. So what I have pulled up is the top 20. Okay. Each institution, right,
Mm-hmm.
in the US, and this is their argument, is that each teacher in the US typically handles 20.8 students, whereas one guard oversees only 5.3 prisoners. That number can be as low as 2 in places like New York City or California. So basically, class size determines how much money we spend per student. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about how big the classes are and how much we pay teachers who are qualified, went through the educational system themselves, had to
Sure.
go through multiple levels of education to get here, while prison guards, nothing. Okay. But once you get to prison, here's how much you'll, and I'm just going to go through like the big ones. So at number 20, okay, this is number 1. At number 20, Michigan, per pupil spending is $11,600. Average cost
A year?
Yep, this is all annual. Average cost
Okay.
inmate is $35,800.
Whoa.
So we're talking about a difference of $24,000. Now,
Yeah.
I would say keep in mind that they have to house them and feed them. But
Sure.
most schools in the US feed the kids at least breakfast or lunch, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Delaware, North Dakota, Washington, Iowa, we're getting into the 27,000s, 28,000 difference. When we start to go up higher is when we hit like Massachusetts. So Massachusetts per pupil spending 15,500, per inmate 55.
Wow.
That's $40,000 difference. That's what it costs for 1 year of college for my kid
Right.
that I had to pay
Mm-hmm.
out of pocket for her to go to college.
That's insane.
That's what we're paying in
Alarming.
dollars for an inmate
Yeah.
to be housed, fed, and educated.
Mm-hmm.
So then we keep going, and guess what? Guess who tops it?
I'm gonna say California and New York.
You bet your ass. So yeah, you bet it. And absolutely. New York City is one of the richest states in America, spends the most on its public school students compared to the rest of the country. However, New York also spends the most on each prisoner at nearly $70,000 a year,
Wow.
which is a difference of about $47,000.
Jesus.
The opposite. So California, New York spends 22,000 per student. California spends 12.
Wow.
But we still managed to spend 64,000 per inmate,
Prisoner.
which is a difference of $53,000. That's more
Oh my gosh.
than I would have ever paid for Macy to go to college out of state.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
if you want to follow the money on this,
Mm-hmm.
we're not educating people. We're training them
No.
how to go to prison.
Right.
We're putting in prison and we're still doing the same thing. We're educating, feeding, housing, and right. So
Mhm.
there's your prison industrial complex where it's like maybe our laws are a little too fucking rough. And maybe
Yeah.
we're spending a little bit more on the social, emotional learning of students, paying their teachers better.
To
And
educate them on
then
how to be good
before,
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
before they get into the system, which is clearly, right, clearly in the system's favor to get them into prison.
Yeah, because then the states get more money.
And then us as taxpayers
That's horrifying.
have to pay for prisoner education, yet
Sure.
we can't pay for our kids' education.
Sure.
So, yeah, the whole debacle about Supreme Court decisions, do you want to think that it has something to do with you? The fuck yeah, it does. The fuck yeah, it does. Because every Supreme Court decision that comes down that allows federal funds to go to private education is you saying, yeah, I want my kid religiously educated. I want them to be indoctrinated to the fact that, you know, and you and I had this experience. That's why we can speak to this. You
Sure.
had this experience. We went wild after we got out of a restrictive environment to
Mhm.
some degree. We came
Yeah.
back to the middle. We found the middle. We were like, that was fucked up. That didn't teach me shit. That taught me how to step in line,
Sure.
how to think for myself. So we're pushing, we're going to teach kids how to step in line. So then we're what? Teaching them how to be a good prisoner?
Wow.
Why don't we demand more of our education and federal funding
Mhm.
that supports schools and teachers and education?
Mm.
So I'm going to try and play that clip
Okay.
for a minute. Yeah, I'm going to post this because I'm like, if you, I don't care who you vote for, please vote. The Supreme Court matters. Your vote matters. If you don't want it to matter and you want to go down that path of like, fuck it, the government's going to take over everything and we're all going to be in prison, someone has to pay for that. If you don't want to go down that path, then listen to what people are saying in this election. Just listen. If it doesn't set well with you, great. I fully support your right to believe in any other way. I absolutely do. But if you don't, if you want to continue to believe in whatever way you want to, then you can't let this go by you and not think about it. All right. So I think I've got it queued up. Let's see how this works. This is our first like clip we're playing. Ready? It's 30 seconds. Here we go.
And I will shut down the Federal Department of Education and we will move everything back to the states where it belongs and where they can individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
Which abortion worked really well when we did that.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea. Right? So that's just not. Okay. So we send it back to the states. The states get to do that, right? How have the states fared on abortion and female reproductive rights?
They've taken everything. They literally, it's a control thing. It's so sad.
So even if you
Horrifying.
have a baby and you're in vitro fertilization,
Did you hear about the judge or the doctor that got fined the other day for performing an abortion on a 10-year-old girl?
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, she did it against the state's wishes, obviously.
So they had to go out of state.
But yeah, they fined her for performing.
Oh yeah. Oh, and this
But 10-year-old to be pregnant in the first place. Like, holy fuck.
It was a rape incest situation.
Absolutely. Yes.
We know that. That was all
Yeah.
over the news. That was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was
No,
actually
but it wasn't
no,
the
it was
sentence.
just under 2 years ago, because today, when we're recording, is the date that Dobbs got overturned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I go to Mexico this weekend, because that was 2 years ago, I was like walking over the border and I walked up to all the Mexican women and I was like, you officially have more rights than I do.
Yeah.
In Mexico. And it's not women don't go seek out abortions. It is
No.
huge, huge decision. And it's
Yeah.
extremely painful. And it's awful. And nobody should be putting their fucking nose in that situation, because usually when it happens, it's the worst fucking possible thing that you're facing at that time.
Yeah.
It is the worst, and there's nobody who will deny that. And there's been so many like women testifying against that. That poor little freaking girl was horrifyingly abused. And the fact that her parents had to go through that is like,
well, and she 10 years old. Jesus
10 years old.
Christ.
She doesn't have a clue.
No.
She's gonna have years of therapy coming up on that, because it was publicized. It was horrifying, and it was awful, and her government didn't step in and help her out. Her parents had to figure this shit out on their own, and that is fucking inexcusable. Like, as a country, you know what, you want less immigration? Well, then make it fucking easier for women to fucking live here. You know? Like, they say reproduction has gone down. Well, yeah, because nobody wants to have a fucking kid in a country where your daughter has less rights than you do. You know, and don't think that they're just going to stop at this. You know, they're going to. Well, we went down a dark, deep hole.
We sure did. What the fuck?
We're supposed to be positive. All I can say with that is
this is not a positive podcast though. We're like talking about real issues, and it's so serious.
It is serious. If you
scary, it's horrifying.
If you
I have grandchildren who are growing up right now, and like they have to go through this education system, and it's alarming.
It's alarming. Yeah. Well, and there are.
I think it just needs to go back to the basics of separation of church and state, and it needs to be separate.
So, and again,
100%.
our education experiences, like, so we had private / religion parochial school for most of ours. And there were some great things about it.
All of it.
Some horrible things about it.
Absolutely.
But then you went off to public after, right, post-secondary education. You went off to public. I went off to public.
For college.
I did some private, right? And my graduate, that was private. Stupid choice. It's fine. Roommate 4 had public, private, public. So she had a kind of good, you know, and again, I'm not dissing all private. Like,
no,
there is some good, but what has not happened is that the good about the private education has not gone into the public education fully yet. And that's because public education is not funded well enough. We have got to support the teachers. They are good. They're trained. This is what their job is. And there's just not the community support for public education that there needs to be. And it is fucking phenomenal. Where else do you go and learn about the people around you that live in your neighborhood, that have a different cultural background than you, that have a different view of life than you, that have a different religious preference? But if you're saying we have to put the 10 commandments in the freaking school, then you're ostracizing that kid who is like a huge student of Buddha, you know, or Buddhism, Buddhism or whatever that could potentially offer something really brilliant to the class that would help some kid. Like it's just insane.
Yeah.
That we're doing that and prioritizing one religion over the other when the Bill of Rights states clearly no
Mhm.
state religion. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we're both well qualified to talk about this because we've experienced both. I mean, and we know the goods, the bads, the ins and the outs and all of that. So
Yeah.
anyway. Well, I certainly think we didn't answer any questions.
No.
Well, this is our second week on YouTube. Moo.
Yeah.
And we're gonna start doing more marketing. Roommate 2,
Yes.
you okay?
Yeah. I've got a headache. I've had a headache all day. But I'm okay.
Full lobes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Doesn't really work for me.
You gotta put your head back in the correct position. Tuck your chin. Yeah, and then
Have 4 chins
mm,
versus 2.
7 chin.
Anyway, yeah.
What are your
So bottom line is the government should not be involved in anything or favoring any one religion. And that is just the bottom line.
that's
Literally the government and the schools need to be
Yep.
separate.
Follow the money.
Yeah.
If there's religious money pouring in from anyone, it's suspect.
Oh,
Wins and fails.
wins and fails. Okay.
I'll go.
Huh?
I'll go first.
Okay.
You have to do the sign off today.
I know.
So my wins this week was family.
Mm-hmm.
Got to see the Orange County folk and see like a whole new it's dynamic, you know, family's always fucking messy. But that's my win. My fail this week is my communication style. So even though I've had 25 years of therapy and I'm fairly good at like setting boundaries and being true to myself and like making sure I'm protected, I'm also still like a hopeless romantic and I'm also very attuned to other people. But there's every once in a while where I have to pull back and just say, I don't have any more. So my fail this week was sort of me not realizing that that was happening soon enough. And then also not being able to verbalize exactly what it is I need without fear of being like losing something. And that's back to the cold stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's all me. That's all like that's my MO, which I was deeply ingrained with when I was a kid. So that's my fail. It's a fail, but it's a win in that I'm recognizing it and I'm doing something about it to be able to go, okay, I need to communicate a little bit better in relationships and boundaries in stuff that is important to me, because you lose track sometimes of what's important to you and what your needs are, to prioritize those and make sure that everyone else around you knows that those are your priorities too. And if they don't respect those, then you're not going to be around them as much. So that was my win/fail, you know.
Okay, so I kind of have the same thing.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. Like it's not the same, but it's a win and a fail in the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's silly, but it literally is going to change everything for me.
Okay.
So basically, my win is
I have to go pee. So I'm gonna mute it.
Okay.
Because I have to pee.
So my win.
I can hear you.
Huh?
I can hear you. I'm listening.
Okay. All right. So my win/fail is with my business. So my win is going to be that I am no longer accepting no shows and cancellations. I am so over it. So that's my fail. I have been too nice. Like, I literally love my clients so much, and I appreciate them, and I let them take advantage of me. And I'm gonna say 95% of them don't do this, but there's the 5% that just don't give a crap. And so basically they make appointments and then they cancel 20 minutes before. Sunday is essentially my busiest day
Yeah.
because I don't work Saturdays. And so I have people that call and cancel, or they don't call. They just go on the app and cancel their appointment 10 minutes before their appointment. I could have
do
put somebody else in there.
do you
And
have
this
a
is like
do you have
my
a
livelihood.
do you have a cancellation fee?
No, but that is part of my win because I've started that.
Good.
So I
It-
know if you
I've had-
cancel less than 24 hours beforehand, you will pay for your appointment
Yes.
the next time you come in.
Yeah.
That's just how it is going to be. And they have to put their credit card in to book.
Good.
Because I just can't deal with the stress of that. And also, it's like, I think people take for granted when you
Your
work for
job.
yourself that, yeah, like, it's fine. But I've been so nice that I haven't done anything about it. And I'm finally like, nope, I'm doing something about this. I'm over it. So I am proud of myself for doing that because
Good.
I
Well,
really struggled with that. But yeah.
I would recommend that. So and I'm speaking to the choir here, like myself also,
Mhm.
because I don't let them self book. They have to book through me.
Okay. No, I have to self-book
I have-
because
I
I
have
don't want to deal with that.
I have complete control of my schedule, but mine are an hour long, right?
Yeah.
So and usually it's weekly, not every 6 weeks. But what I don't want them to put a credit card in because I prefer cash. But what I've started to do is if you cancel 24 hours, and this is on my policy, you cancel 24 hours in advance. And this includes, well, and there's certain exceptions, but I'm
Mhm.
like, if it's more than 24 hours in advance, I'll let them slide.
Mhm.
If it's within like a 12-hour window and it's not an emergency, then I charge them half. Because there's a likelihood I can get someone in there, but there's a likelihood I can't
Yeah.
in 12 hours, right? In 24 hours, yeah, maybe, or I can shuffle people around. But I'm like, my time is the value here. So
Mhm.
that's your time too, though. And if it's not valuable to them, then
Yes.
it's valuable to me. So I need to push that value onto them where they know if it's not something really critical, sickness, emergency.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, if you're sick, don't come in. Like, that's fine. I don't want your sickness. But let's not like
But you'll
take advantage of
typically
the
know
situation.
24 hours in advance
Yeah.
if you're too sick to come in.
I mean, in particular, I had one client cancel and he booked an hour-long appointment, which I could put 2 haircuts in that appointment or somebody else for an hour-long appointment. And 2 Sundays in a row, he's canceled less than 20 minutes before his appointment.
So
Like, it's not okay.
charge him.
It's not okay. It's not
Charge.
okay. Yeah.
There's no
So,
other way that they
that
are
was-
going to get that
Yeah.
unless you charge them because our value system is attached to money. This goes
Sure.
back to our whole entire podcast. Like,
Yeah.
where's the money? Well, we're paying more for prisoners in our country. Education.
It's horrifying. I've never actually read those statistics, so that's very interesting and horrible. But
You're
all
still
right.
you're still paying for it though.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
Sure.
Our taxes are still doing that.
Absolutely.
So if we can do it for prisoners, we can do it for our students.
Yep.
Anyway, well, what's your sign off, Liz?
Okay, here we go. Stupid. Okay. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana.
Is that it? Okay.
In 1998, I was the whistleblower in a massive pedophilia case involving the Independent Fundamental Baptist Church, Cornerstone Baptist Church in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I was the lead key witness in a case that took down an entire network of child abusers. Charles D. Miller was sent to prison, and this was prior to the statute of limitations law being lifted in Colorado. In fact, shortly thereafter, it was lifted, and he would have gotten life in prison. My sister and I wrote a book about what it was like growing up in the cult. We're looking for publishers. We are going to self-publish, but we need your help. If you know of anyone, hit us up. Contact info is in the show notes. Thank you kindly.